What really sank the Bismarck? Was it the British Royal Navy, or did its own crew seal its fate? The answer has been hidden for decades, until now. You have to imagine a ship so powerful it could bring an entire nation to its knees. For me, the Bismarck was the Death Star, a machine of war unlike anything we hope to ever see again. A state-of-the-art underwater drone was sent to the Bismarck wreck, expecting only to capture a historical relic. This monstrous steel giant had survived everything the British could throw at it, and when it sank, it became legend. But what the drone found defied all logic. The most powerful battleship of its era, sitting almost perfectly upright on the ocean floor, held a secret. The damage captured by the cameras didn't match historical accounts of the final battle. It hinted at something far more sinister in the ship's last moments. This discovery didn't just solve a mystery, it sparked a new one that haunts us today. Few realize the secret the ocean hides, the crushing pressure at that depth. Over 6,000 pounds per square inch, enough to crush a modern submarine like a soda can. This was the world Ballard's team had to penetrate. Their main tool was Argo, a revolutionary ROV, more a deep-sea bloodhound than a robot. 12 feet long, packed with high-resolution cameras, sonar, and lights bright enough to pierce the eternal black. For days, the research vessel Knorr towed Argo in meticulous brids, a process called mowing the lawn. Hours passed staring at grainy monitors, hunting for any trace of the lost battleship. The British Admiralty's records offered only an approximate location, and in the vast Atlantic, approximate is terrifying. Ballard knew the ship could be anywhere within a 150-square-mile search box. After days of mud and occasional deep-sea creatures, tension ran high on the Knorr. Then, on June 8, 1989, it happened. A shape flickered on the screen. Debris, twisted steel, unmistakably from a massive warship. The hunt was over. They had found it. The first images were terrifying. The Bismarck sat upright on the slope of an extinct underwater volcano, as if deliberately placed there. Not shattered, but ghostly and preserved in cold, still water. Its massive 820-foot hull was mostly intact. The structural integrity was incredible. It defied everything they thought about a ship of this size sinking. It had slid over a mile down the slope, yet remained imposing. But something was wrong. The stern was missing, ripped clean off. The rest of the damage didn't add up. Ballard's team launched Alvin, a 3-person submersible, for a closer look. Descending for hours into the crushing black, they became the first humans to see the Bismarck since its last battle. The superstructure, command towers and bridges, was shredded, a chaotic mess of jagged shell holes. Yet the main hull told another story. The thick armor, nearly 13 inches designed to resist any shell, was nearly untouched, with only 8 major holes above the waterline. Below it, nothing, no catastrophic breaches. The ship's heart remained intact. How could a vessel relentlessly bombarded sink without its main defenses failing? This discovery didn't answer questions, it created a deeper, haunting one. The ship that should have been destroyed sat defiant. What really sent it to the bottom? Ballard's expedition opened the door. Over a decade later, in 2002, filmmaker and deep-sea explorer James Cameron led a new expedition. This mission wasn't just to view the wreck's exterior. He wanted to go inside. Armed with cutting-edge technology, his tools made Ballard's setup look ancient. 2 Russian-built Mir submersibles and nimble ROVs nicknamed bots explored places humans could not. The bots navigated flooded corridors, past crew quarters with personal effects scattered, into massive engine rooms. This was no longer a ship, it was a tomb for over 2,000 men. The footage was haunting, but the technical precision was extraordinary. Cameron's team measured shell damage and confirmed that despite over 700 large-caliber shells fired by the British battleships Rodney and King George V, only 2 penetrated the main 12.6-inch armor belt. The Bismarck had shrugged off the Royal Navy's best. The outer armor wasn't the reason it sank. The bots revealed long, peeling tears below the armor belt, initially mistaken for torpedo damage, but they were caused by impact and stress, the battleship slamming into the seafloor, sliding down the volcanic slope. The mountain had done more damage than British torpedoes. Inside, decks beneath the main armor compressed 10 to 13 feet. Flooding from within crushed the internal structure as the ship plunged. Evidence now pointed away from external battle damage, supporting German survivors' claims. The Bismarck hadn't been sunk by enemy fire. Externally tough, it collapsed internally. To understand the drone's findings, imagine the panic the Bismarck caused. Commissioned in August 1940, it was the most powerful warship afloat, faster, bigger, and heavily armed than anything the British had. In May 1941, the Bismarck slipped into the Atlantic on her first and only mission, codenamed Operation Rheinübens. Her goal was simple and brutal: to cut off the lifeline of supply convoys from the United States to Britain. If she succeeded, the Allies could lose the war. She was, in every sense, a monster roaming the Atlantic. On May 24th, that nightmare became reality. Accompanied by the heavy cruiser Prince Eugen, the Bismarck faced the pride of the Royal Navy, the battlecruiser HMS Hood and the new battleship HMS Prince of Wales. In a battle that lasted only minutes, the Bismarck did the unthinkable. A salvo of her 15-inch shells pierced Hood's deck armor, detonating its rear ammunition magazines. The Hood exploded in a catastrophic fireball, broke in two, and sank in less than 3 minutes. Of 1,418 crewmen, only 3 survived. The world was stunned. The mighty Hood was gone. The Bismarck had made its terrifying announcement to the world. What followed was one of the most intense manhunts in naval history. British Prime Minister Winston Churchill issued a chilling order: sink the Bismarck. Every available ship in the home fleet was dispatched, but the Bismarck was wounded. A hit from the Prince of Wales damaged a forward fuel tank, causing an oil leak and reducing top speed. Admiral Günther Lutyens made a fateful choice. He would head for a safe port in occupied France. For 24 terrifying hours, the Bismarck eluded its pursuers, vanishing into the vast Atlantic. And yet its fate hinged on a single fragile aircraft. On May 26th, a Catalina flying boat spotted the oil slick trailing the battleship. The hunters now knew exactly where it was. The aircraft carrier HMS Ark Royal launched its planes, obsolete swordfish biplanes nicknamed string bags for their slow, fragile build. Despite their vulnerability, they were the British's only weapon. In a daring, low-level attack in foul weather, they launched torpedoes, one striking the Bismarck's stern, jamming its rudders. The mighty battleship was now circling helplessly. The British fleet closed in. On May 27th, the battleships Rodney and King George V opened fire. For nearly 2 hours, the Bismarck's upper decks burned, a floating inferno. And yet, the hull remained afloat. Why wouldn't it sink? The answer lay not in the British attack, but in the orders whispered on the dying ship, the truth hidden on the seafloor. Looking at the evidence from the deep, there are 2 perspectives. 1. Relentless British bombardment left the Bismarck a burning wreck. 2. Drone footage reveals a largely intact armored hull. The debate rages on. Did the British sink it, or did the Germans do it themselves? German survivors, including high-ranking officers, have always been consistent. With the ship crippled, the order was given to scuttle it. Engineers opened watertight doors and set demolition charges with 9-minute fuses in the engine rooms, ensuring the ship wouldn't fall into enemy hands. For decades, many dismissed this as prideful storytelling. But drone footage changes everything. The intact outer armor supports the scuttling theory. The internal collapse of the decks captured by Cameron's bots matches what would happen if the ship was flooded from within. It filled like a bathtub, the immense weight of water forcing it down. The British attacks had rendered the Bismarck useless. They neutralized its weapons, engines, and communication, but the final plunge appears to have been the crew's choice. For decades, the story of the Bismarck's end has been a clash of narratives. Were the British attacks solely responsible, or was it the crew's defiance that finally sank her? The evidence from the abyss reveals a more complex truth. Both sides were right. The Bismarck's fate was a two-act tragedy. Act 1, the British pounded her relentlessly, the torpedo that crippled her rudders, leaving her circling helplessly, a sitting duck in the Atlantic. Act 2, the German crew's final act. With their ship dead in the water and shells raining down, they scuttled her to prevent capture, a last defiant stand. Modern drone evidence confirms it. Without scuttling, the Bismarck might have burned and floated for hours more, but it was already lost. The crew reclaimed control in their final moment. Was it an act of war or a tragic loss of life? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.